Hi, hello, welcome to The Message and the Medium. So this is one of the important and interesting conversation that I was looking forward to. So today's guest is M.N.V.V.K Chaitanya garu. So he has 22-year-old experience in edtech and media entrepreneurship. So a lot of important and interesting topics like media entrepreneurship, career counseling, and personal branding. All these things are going to be discussed in this conversation. So personally, I have so many doubts to clear. So this conversation is for everybody who's looking into information regarding entrepreneurship and education nowadays, NEP and all these things. So let's get started. Hi Chaitanya.
Hi Sunayana.
How are you?
Great.
Okay, so first question. Who are you?
Okay.
What you do? What mission are you on right now?
Alright. So these are, I think, three different existential questions, which is very tough for midlife professional to answer, who's maybe more so going through a midlife crisis myself. So I would say that for the last 2 decades, I was been fortunate enough to work in a very interesting calling which I have set for myself, that is in higher education. So it's been one hell of a ride in terms of working in public policy research to business schools, private business schools, and for about again close to 9 years in a very dynamic international film school in Hyderabad. So and the last 2 years I have been working more in edtech settings, where for about 11 months I worked with an unicorn, edtech unicorn, helping them with procuring subject matter experts in their learning design team. And the last 11 months in my previous job, I've been fortunate enough to again set up the academic strategy and also attempt at creating India's first kid-centric and teen-centric incubator and handling the partnerships there. Yeah.
Okay. What mission are you on right now?
Taking it from where we have left for the second question, what mission on? I would say currently for the last 3 months, I've been burnt by the very ambitious vision of learning a lot in the related areas of climate tech, climate action, and also ESG, which is getting very popular these days thanks to so many regulatory changes around the financial and non-financial accounting space. So ESG and climate is what is actually keeping me very much hooked about learning and reading a lot and researching a lot. In addition to that, also I've been fortunate enough to pick up many consulting assignments as an independent consultant. So many have come my way in terms of agriculture and digital agriculture, and most importantly the ones which are again at the cusp of all the developmental goals of United Nations, that is the SDG goals that we have about. So in the broader areas of livelihoods, skilling and poverty elimination. So I was picking up a lot and reading a lot and researching a lot because 3 of my current clients are from that space.
Okay, so mostly in the social issues and social causes, is it?
You can say it's more into impact space, of course, but with definite outcomes. And again, as I said, right, these are all very much cutting edge areas, which again what India requires right now. So again, we've been very fortunate to be based out of Hyderabad. So we're getting a lot of tech talent to solve what exactly is worth solving for the kind of growth stage that Indian economy is right now.
Right. Okay. So these are basically my questions and my doubts that I have. So usually I ask you, but today also I want, because most of the people also might be facing those.
Okay.
So these answers from you might help them also. So first question is, I never knew media entrepreneurship exists before. You've introduced that term to me. So if you can elaborate over it. Okay. What is media entrepreneurship? Okay. And why should anyone do it? Okay. And does it make money?
Okay, so these are again three very interesting, different yet again related questions, I would say. Thanks for asking that and bringing this and vividly, recollecting what we have spoken in the last 11 months. But yeah, so media entrepreneurship again is a very loosely used word, and the reason being that people again combine media, entertainment, and also communication. So these are again 3 different perspectives or 3 different paradigms if you look at it in one way. But again, all the 3 are also interrelated because communication is done through a medium, and that's where the media would come in, and entertainment is one subset of the communication and media mediums that we have. So last 10 years, I would say particularly, more so in the intermediate education and also vocational and skill development, and most importantly in higher education. So these are the 4 areas that I'm reasonably familiar with. So the last 1 decade has seen a lot of mainstreaming of this erstwhile niche and under talked about and underrepresented sector. So to answer your question, is there money? Yes, there will be money, as will be there in a growing economy like India, provided we play our cards well and do the things which are worth doing in the first place. So, but yeah, not all revenues are equal in this domain. What I meant again is that the color of money or the smell of money might be the same, but different subdomains of this areas. So when you say it is like media, entertainment and communication, so there is this report called M.N.V.V.K Frames, which does this annual event in Mumbai every year, which happened actually this first week of this May. So M.N.V.K report, which in fact is the by far the golden standard in terms of classification and also what, let's say, all the industry people actually read about and think about and talk about. So M.N.V.K classifies it in broadly in close to 8 to 10 different subdomains. So for the fact that we are talking in Hyderabad, obviously film and entertainment is one major domain which takes a lot of lion's share of attention, but in terms of economics it is only 1/10 of the entire sector of media and entertainment. But yes, film and entertainment, so that's again, which again, if I were to talk about the value chain broadly, there are 3 parts in that. So one is film production, second is film distribution, and the third is film exhibition. Again, in film production we again have subparts like pre-production, production and post-production. So this is one part where film entertainment, which recently now got a very good competition in the form of what is thing called as OTTs. So the digital or the erstwhile new media. So the streaming is again the second sector which opened up, but again that would fall under the heading of digital. But again, it takes a lot of legacy inputs from film entertainment. The third and most important thing, which in fact has in terms of economics a larger size, would be what is called as television. So all the television that we have, about close to 1,000 plus channels, so 1,000 plus channels in a very, very booming, argumentative, dynamic democracy that India is. So we have lots of news channels. In fact, even in those 1,000 plus news television channels that we have, so a lot again is actually in the news space. So I would say at least close to 40% of that entire fulcrum or the entire output actually comes from television sector. And then of course we have the plain old print media, which in fact where is you have your newspapers, magazines and periodicals and e-zines and other things, which again is more driven by the print and legacy mediums. And as you know, for the last 2 decades, ever since India, or rather 3 decades, ever since India got liberalized and privatized, we have seen a flurry of new FDI and also new things coming up in the new media. So which basically is nothing but what we call it as digital media, social media and all the other things. So I'm just putting it all under that as a digital medium. So that is one sector which again is taking a lot of, again, line share of attention as well. But in addition to that, there are also the plain old public relations, which again is a very big component, and including your advertising, which now again got demarcated into print and digital. And also India is also fortunate enough to have a very thriving another least talked sector, but again is very, very booming these days. That is what is called as OOH, that is out of home media. So all the things that you're seeing, whether let's say whether you visit a mall, so we call it as ambient advertising. So there are ways in which, let's say, brands are talking to the audiences like millennials, Gen Z, Gen Alpha and all that. So through, let's say, those ambient and contextual advertisement, or let's say even when you take a cab to reach somebody or any place, whether in a tier 1 city or a tier 2 city, you've seen all the taxi aggregators like Ola and Uber. So all the ads that you see, whether it is in the billboards or in the taxi aggregation, or even when you get inside a cab, you see a lot of ambient and contextual ads popping up there. So out of home is one thing which again is booming up, and thanks to technology, so there are these subsets like which are again growing, where again technology is coming everywhere. So we have these things called MarTech, which is like marketing technology, or what we call it as ad tech or comtech, that is again communication technology. So all are basically converging. So I'm very upbeat about out of home media, because I feel a lot of tech innovations, and more so the fact that India is a very, very mobile first country. So you're going to see a lot of innovations happening in out of home. And then of course right now my favorite thing, which in fact I feel is a more no nonsensical and more non-intrusive, that is actually what is called as sound, music and podcasting. So this is also booming a lot because people are again commuting, people are traveling, and they want more of a non-intrusive way of getting entertained or getting informed or even getting educated. So for me, podcasting and the whole gamut of sound, music and audio, so you can call it as SAM as a tech,
right,
as a stack. So these again are, I would say, the other emerging, under talked but still a lot of promising sectors that you have in media and entertainment. So the question, and just to summarize the entire thing, so it's not about what sector you're operating in, but what exactly are you solving in terms of the sectoral problems that you are seeing or the opportunities that you want to leverage. So money is of course will be there everywhere, and money will not be there also money might not be there everywhere. So it all depends upon the kind of opportunity recognition which needs to be married with the problem identification.
My following question was that only. So what all the topics that you've mentioned or the jobs that you've mentioned that are already there? So when you get entrepreneurial aspect into this media, like you are solving a problem in these sectors, that's what it's called. Yep. Media entrepreneurship, right? Right. Okay. So now next question is, what is that one market which has more money right now?
Among the ones that we spoke about? No.
In general.
See, I think I would say, again, I might be biased because the last 3 months I've been reading more about agriculture, ESG and climate. But for the kind of impact that these three sectors has, and also for the kind of the non-glamorousness, I would say, because when compared with IT or ITES or global capability centers or whatever you see, let's say in a place like Bangalore or Hyderabad or Mumbai or Delhi, there is a world beyond these cities actually. The metro towns, whether it is Chennai or Kolkata or all the erstwhile tier 1 cities here, because now more traction and more action, in the sense more dynamism is also there more in agriculture. Because that is one sector which I feel personally, because I had my MBA way back in 99. So for the last 23 years of studying Indian economy, I would say one sector which still has not seen the potential that it is capable, not only for India's needs, but for the whole world's needs in terms of the export potential, in terms of course, the internal self-sufficiency and the Atmanirbhar Bharat ethos that the Prime Minister is talking about. So I think agriculture is like one sector I would say there is going to be a lot of money. And just to give you some data pointers or some examples, if you see the kind of D2C brands, the direct to consumer brands, which I think have seen a lot of traction, let's say in the last 2 decades, primarily in e-commerce and let's say FMCG and FMCD space. Now, whether it's the likes of Boat or likes of let's say Vadam Tea or the likes of so many other direct to consumer brands in e-commerce or fashion or what do you call, even consumer durables for that matter. But I would say D2C brands are going to be more prominent. It's going to be a rage kind of a thing, more in agriculture goods and more in agro processing, and also in more in all the adjacent things related to agriculture. For example, people will not be happy just drinking a plain old tea, the dust tea that we know. So they want now more boutique and gourmet teas. They want more coffees. I think at last count, India itself, I've been reading somewhere that we have about close to some 150 odd brands which got launched in the last 2-3 years only in coffee as a category. I'm not talking about the coffee, the retailing coffee chains like the likes of Baristas and Starbucks and Cafe Costas and other things. So that is always there. Retailing was there. But I'm talking about brands directly reaching. For example, even if you look at the healthy snacks as a category. Now, if you were to marry the inherent progress and also the kind of a lot of dynamism that agriculture has, with of course with the new age thinking that is happening in technology, in brand building and also in the creator economy, I think D2C brands will rule the roost actually. So one thing which to answer your question, that I'll be very upbeat about is agriculture, and the fact that we are polluting the planet at an unimaginable way. So I think a lot of clean tech and climate tech companies will be making a lot of money, and very, very surprisingly, till now we have not seen India's unicorn. Not that again valuations and unicorns are matter, but we have yet to see a very good clean tech unicorn or a climate tech unicorn. So I think we should celebrate that, where, because for the fact the impact is more than, let's say, unicorns coming out of, let's say, fashion or e-commerce or other. Not to say that they are less important, but I'll be more happy if, let's say, there will be more Agritech unicorns or more agri equipment unicorns or more farmer fintech unicorns than the over-penetrated, oversaturated metro pockets.
So continuation to what you've said, do you really think as of now so much attention has been pandered to this part of the situation by Indian edtechs, or Indian entrepreneurs?
See, okay, that's again a very, very interesting question. If I were to paraphrase what you said, what exactly are the focus areas of Indian entrepreneurs?
Okay.
So that's a very interesting question that you asked. So again, we're all like some of the kind of books that we read, or the kind of parental upbringing that we have, or the kind of the society and the community in which we come from. So if you were to see, actually a lot of India's successful entrepreneurs and also successful exits have come traditionally, let's say, from IT, because all of these entrepreneurs have the advantage of studying from India's premier institutions like IIT, SIIMS and Indian Institute of Sciences of the world. So they have again went abroad and saw how the Western markets operate, whether it is Silicon Valley or the Londons of the world or the Singapores of the world, and they came back and then they tried to do some tangible impact, building something out of India. So the prior and the first I would say first cycle successes that we are seeing, specifically, let's say, in the larger areas of IT or KPO or BPO, or for that matter even ITES, the information technology and information technology enabled services revolution that we had. So that is, I would say, will be entrepreneurship 1.0. Now, let's say these days again we're talking about Web 3.0. So if I were to even say even the 2.0, which again is, let's say, the Bangalore-based companies which did a phenomenal things, whether it is like CultFit or whether you talk about even Airtel, which comes from the telecommunications area, around which in fact all the digital revolution is spreading. So there were a lot many first generation and second generation companies and startups which got started, but I would say the most under focused areas, and that's where I think the kind of education that the current generation is going to have, or the Gen X and the Gen Alpha, and including the millennials or the late millennials are going to do. These guys, these generations are more worldly aware. They're well traveled, and they're also because they have a good fortune of getting education in very good international schools, where they have been taught environmental consciousness, they have been taught things like even global citizenship and other things. So I think the next entrepreneurship 3.0, at least for me, might happen more in those sectors which are more purpose led rather than profit driven. So what I meant again is that a lot, again, as I said, is going to be happening more in impact space. Particularly, maybe India requires more crowdfunding platforms. Maybe I think India requires more agriculture decacons. Forget about unicorns. Maybe for the kind of potential and the market size that we have in agriculture. The same way, India requires a lot of entertainment startups actually, because thanks to the roaring success of Triple R and the Natu Natu song that we are talking about. So gone are the days where even the entertainment sector is actually serving only to the ethnic and NRI population in those certain pockets where Indians have migrated. But right now, with the kind of globalization which has made the world so flat, I think India can actually make content for the whole world actually. The way, what I were to tell, or rather to put it in a different way, is if K-pop, primarily originating from a small tiny country of South Korea, can create such a big wave, I mean, for the kind of vibrant and dynamic industries that India has, be it your Bollywood, Mollywood, Collywood, Tollywood, and all the woods that we have, I'm sure that with the more outward looking and more risk taking and also more globally aware startups getting started in the whole gamut of media, entertainment, and communication space, it's a matter of time that we'll be ruling the world in terms of the global music industry or a global entertainment industry, or for that matter even the global OTT industry.
Right. I think a lot of parents' mindset has also been changed so far.
Yes,
Because, before it was more academic oriented. Now they're pushing them to do all these extracurriculars, and they are joining in the schools only if they see all these kind of different career paths are to be opened for the kids. So what do you think about that?
No, again, you touched a very, very interesting point. In fact, again, in my last job, I had the fortune of traveling to at least 19 different schools in Hyderabad, where I've seen from first-hand experience as to what are the parental expectations, what are the teacher constraints, and also most importantly how the societal changes are actually driving the larger picture, out of which again parents have to play a larger role, but even the kids are also becoming more globally aware. That's what when I said they're more street smart. Not only they are book smart, maybe the kids raised in 90s or 2000s or the late 2000s might be great book smarts, but what I saw is when you even speak to a kid in grade 6, he's so self-aware, which is so different than, let's say, when I was 30 years back at the same stage. So the kind of self-confidence and the self-awareness that they have is also rubbing on the parents and the grandparents and thereby the entire school ecosystem. So you are bang on when you said that the schools have changed a lot, and also not only that, I would say if you look at, thanks to COVID and even the early times of COVID or in the peak time of COVID, when the NEP got released and where the National Education Policy. So NEP 2020, where we had actually changed our education policy, which was last time I think got revised in way back in 1986. So in 2020, the central government did a very, very phenomenally, I would say, game-changing and a paradigm-changing act of changing the or launching the new NEP 2020. So if you look at that core of NEP 2020, which in fact we have already seen the change in the last 3 years, ever since it got announced and slowly it's getting implemented, the kind of tinkering, the kind of innovation, the kind of entrepreneurial mindset, the kind of the whole holistic thinking that we are talking about is literally getting ignited. And I've seen that not only in the, let's say, the 19 schools that I've seen in Hyderabad, but when again I traveled to Mohali and other parts where the EdTech and the K-12 EdTechs are operating there. So I saw that it's not like a very, very superficial change, but it is a very, very deep change, where the entire school ecosystem, be it the proactive school leaders or school owners, or for that matter the vice principals and also the headmistresses, or the whole ecosystem has gone for a very, very positive change, where they've started accepting that there is life beyond academics, there is life beyond cramming, there is life beyond the traditional the STEM focus that we had. So it's very refreshing and very, very heartening to see that people are taking subjects like, let's say, financial literacy, subjects like environmental awareness or global citizenship, or for that matter even a very, very niche topic like even, let's say, musical literacy. Or I've seen even some schools which are even teaching media literacy, where even how to make sense out of a newspaper, right? So yes, there is still a skew and a fetish, and it's loaded towards your critical thinking, computational thinking, or robotics and all the traditional STEM stack. But it is also refreshing to see there are so many progressive schools, particularly in the Hyderabad, Coimbatore, and some other schools that I know in NCR, where they're doing phenomenal efforts to take also in arts and design. So that is one thing. And just to end it here, also I would say, and it's also my pet peeve, that whatever is this entire NEP has started, this should be only the starting point, and there are so much things to be done. And this all needs to be, I would say, be focused and also culminated in the form of what is called as career counseling or career intelligence or career development. Now, there's no fun in teaching entrepreneurial mindset and just letting the guy know how to solve a problem without not again taking to the next level of telling that, okay, these are the 10 sectors maybe that you can think about and try to tinker on those 10 sectors in the next 4-5 years by the time you complete your school. The same way, even when you're, let's say, teaching them the whole STEM stack, so the kids need to be aware that, again, I'm just speaking slightly from my first-hand experience as a parent to my 17-year-old son. So he wants to crack the holy grail of the engineering education here, the IIT. But what I was trying to tell him is that even the fact that he's appearing for or he's preparing for a exam like a very hyper competitive exam like IIT-G, there is again life beyond IIT systems, because the Indian government, again, if you look here, has been very, very proactive and visionary enough to launch so many campuses, so many new chain of higher education institutions, particularly, let's say, in the scheme of, pure sciences or advanced sciences. For example, for every IIT, they have also started something like IISER, which is Indian Institute of Science and Educational Research. There is also started a lot many NISERs. So likewise, even when you talk about proactive government like Telangana government, so if you see here, they have passed the bills to launch pharmaceutical university, construction university, so many, in fact, they're starting a B Hub, which is going to talk about biotechnology. So the point I'm trying to tell is that the students now need to be made more aware of not only the traditional NEET or IIT, but these fiercely competitive examinations also opens up their doors for other institutes of excellence in higher education. And if they were to know that, okay, not only that there is a big money to be made in CSE, which is like computer and science engineering, but India requires so many petrochemical engineers, India requires so many civil engineers, India requires so many mechanical engineers. Right. So the whole point is that if the kids like physics, maths and chemistry, more the merrier, because they teach you a lot of life skills in addition to the educational knowledge that they endow with. But these things can also be used in not only in IT and ITS, but somewhere else as well. So that's where I would say, and just to close this point, where career intelligence, career counseling and structured career advisory can really help the students live up to their potential, than just merely doing this as a tick mark in NAP.
Okay. So one of the important questions that you have answered to me before, I think more information has been added to that. That's why I'm asking again. What is personal branding and why is it so important for someone to do it in any domain?
Okay. Again, thanks for bringing this up because we are again hitting on right notes on so many things. So I would say for the kind of content that we are creating, ocean is not even a right metaphor, because content is getting created at an insane rate, and the only way we can cut the clutter of that content and also stand out in the same ocean of sameness. What I meant again when I say ocean of sameness is everything is becoming so commoditized that the only way that the market, when I say market in this case, whomsoever you are trying to serve. For example, as a teacher, I might be serving my students, or as a brand, I might be serving my customers, or as a politician, I might be serving my constituency. The only way, if you look at a successful politician or a phenomenal teacher or a star who has so many fans, the way they have done that is actually through personal branding. If you look at, let's say, the Pawanism. Now, for me, the Pawanism is nothing but a personal branding taken to an extreme level by the fandom. The same way, if you look at the phenomenal success that the KTR and the KCR government did in the politics space, just to give you an example, look at, let's say, the way KTR, the most visionary politician and the most shrewd and astute politician that T government has in the recent past, uses, let's say, LinkedIn as a platform, Twitter as a platform, and other social media platforms, mindful of, let's say, what the audience requirement and the needs and their contexts are.
Right.
So the fact he visited UK recently, or he's currently in US, he's signing a lot many MOUs. So that is a completely LinkedIn appropriate content, and he's leaving no stone unturned to talk about what is the kind of jobs he's creating, what is the kind of investments which are going to flow in, what is the kind of macroeconomic impact it's going to create. The same case KTR, if you were to again use, let's say, Twitter as a platform, when let's say he's using it to win over his competitors, and not about the business and the entrepreneurial aspects, but he's talking about the vote bank politics there, he's talking about the societal factors, the sociological issues there. So here is one politician, I would say, whether it is Mr. Pawan Kalyan using the, taking the personal branding to another level, or the visionary, the Industries Minister that we have, KTR Garu, or for that matter, even if you look at some of the successful, teachers, or for that matter, faculties. For example, what is physics wala? It is actually the way Alok Pandey has built a brand around it, and that, or even you look at another edtech entrepreneur which I really admire, will be Vaibhav Sisneti, the founder of Growth School. So here are two people, Mr. Alok Pandey, who built the co-founder of Physics Wala, or Vaibhav Sisneti, the founder of Growth School. Literally the entire company is built from the personal branding that one person has created. So what I'm trying to again to tell here is that the only way we can unclutter and break out of this market is just by doing personal branding. So that's why I would say that yes, social media is a vice. It is again makes you get addicted, and also makes you egoistical or egoitist, to say so. But I would say that there's no harm in telling if you are doing some great things, if you are doing some good things, to make it known to the world for the kind of space that you are creating. The second thing is that not only that it is a hygiene factor these days, that is the way in which in fact you create more revenue opportunities, or make an impact for yourself, or even you might even use that social branding for doing good actually. There is this lady whose name I am unable to recollect, but she just started this entire campaign, and literally I would say it's a revolutionary movement called Humans of Bombay. Right? So just out of a Facebook page, and the kind of movement and the kind of the social media posts that Humans of Bombay does right now is literally insane, and the kind of following that they have is insane. And it's all started with the founder's personal branding and her own branding, or I would say how she has taken a germ of an idea to such a wonderfully built a media empire around it actually. So I would say it's more of a not only hygiene factor, but it is also a necessary evil, I would say.
So your top 5 educational movie suggestions.
Okay, this is a very dicey one to answer because I watch
You watch a wide range of movies.
So I mean, just if I were to reflect right now, I mean, that is also one good way, because to even the fact that I'm remembering them, that means subconsciously I think the movies would have left some impact. If there is first movie, I would say it's again it's a classic movie which is again shown in all the film schools and also the business schools of the world, particularly in the areas of group dynamics and people management actually. So there is this movie called 12 Angry Men, which basically is a courtroom drama set inside a single room, where as to the entire panel has to come with a judgment whether to give a punishment or not a punishment to some person. So that is again a wonderful insight and peak, and I would say it's whatever the entire ton of books cannot teach about human psychology, that is actually beautifully gets portrayed in that movie through those 12 characters who talk about, with their personalities, their attitudes, their upbringing. So a lot comes into the foreground in that movie. So 12 Angry Men is one movie. I think it was shot and way back in 1950s and 60s actually by one of a masterful director called Sidney Lumet. So that would be my all-time favorites. And so one is 12 Angry Men. The second one would be there is again 3 different movies which got again made on Steve Jobs. The Steve Jobs as a movie, I don't know who directed it, but that movie gives a very good peek into what made Steve Jobs what he is in terms of the kind of the inner struggles that he went through, and the kind of a peek into the mind of the marketing genius that the world has seen. Yeah, all 3 are biographies. So there are 3 biographies on Steve Jobs. One is Jobs, and other is Steve Jobs, and I've forgotten the other name. But there is this movie called Steve Jobs among the 3. So that is the one that is again my all-time favorite, because that also gives a peek into what happened in Silicon Valley, what made Steve Jobs what he is, and what he endured, and the kind of marketing genius that he became. The third movie, I would say again, which recently got released, or rather I would say it's not that old, but again made by this Tamil female producer and female director, starring the South Indian superstar Surya, which got released in Telugu as Akasame Ni Hadduga. Yeah, Akasame Hadduga. So that is a phenomenal movie which talks about the entire roller coaster ride which a entrepreneur endures actually. And it's again based on that real life story of the founder of A Deccan, right, Captain Gopinath. So Akasame Ni Hadduga, or I hope I am getting it right, but that is that movie starring Surya, which is my third favorite, I would say, which again is done in a very mainstream way, but the entire gist of what an entrepreneur goes through was so beautifully captured. The kind of personal struggles, the family dynamics, the societal compulsions, the industry competition. Yes. It has the entire entrepreneurial life cycle and a life journey, and it also ties up with the macro context, economic context of India, because at the time there are very few companies, firms. The low cost airlines that we're talking about were not the case when he started it way back in early 2000s actually. So that would be my third favorite. The fourth one would be from again the recent Netflix movie, again for the fact that it at least gave me a good idea as to what goes into the climate and how we are in fact not being kind to the animals. So there is this Oscar documentary which in fact won the Oscar called Elephant Whisperers. So that is another one gem of a movie which again in a very short duration talks about what is the man-animal relationship. So which I would say every school student and also a student should watch at this age, at this impressionable age, because that might open up a lot of opportunities and imaginations which, let's say, a student can actually benefit from. So this would be my 4. The last would be again, this is a documentary, but again it's not my favorite, but that's one thing I can right now very recollect easily. So there is this documentary called The Pirates of Silicon Valley, which talks about the epic rivalry between Microsoft and Apple. That is from Steve Jobs and Bill Gates. They talk about as to how the two companies at the right time, with the right founders, with the right mindset, has actually literally monopolize the whole world in terms of both hardware and software systems actually. And now yes, there is another movie that I would strongly recommend it to all the people who want to make a career in Bollywood particularly, and also in any Indian film sector or any film sub industry here. That is in fact Netflix recently produced a movie. It's a Netflix original about how S. Chopra built that entire empire that he built, and how his elder son right now, Aditya Chopra, is actually helping it. So there is this documentary called Romantics, which talks about the entire. So this is not a biography, but this is more about the evolution of this powerhouse called YRF, that is Yashraj Films.
Trends have also been shown in that.
Yes. That is a complete. It's a very sweeping and all-encompassing way in which the romance in Bollywood actually got built and depicted and got monetized.
Right. And yes, your favorite topic: 3 book suggestions.
All right, okay. So this, in that sense, also I'll be relatively biased with the kind of books that I have been recently completed or reading actually. So there is this book which I would recommend it to all the sociologists and anybody who's interested in social sciences. So there's this book called Desperately Seeking Shahrukh, which again looks like a book about Bollywood, but this book is anything but that, because it talks about a developmental economist using Shah Rukh Khan as a metaphor and as a phenomena to talk about what India has gone through, particularly with respect to the female issues, be it your gender inequality, domestic violence. I mean, you name anything which again affects females. So using the lens of Shah Rukh Khan, so the author has beautifully narrated the transformation that even females are undergoing right now. So that is one book which again is heavily on social sciences, which I would say, and that book is titled as Desperately Seeking Shah Rukh. The second book which literally again impacted me and changed my mindset per se is a book called Range by David Epstein. So the book is Range. So the book again talks about as to how one needs to be a deep generalist. Now with growing ChatGPT and all the AI and data sciences wave that it is taking over the entire humanity, it says that why more than hyper specialists, deep generalists are actually the future, and why they will be winning the game. So this again talks about why one should have curiosity basically. So this is something which is very close to my heart, because I for one cannot be bracketed down to one specific narrow discipline, because I love reading so many things, be it sciences or technology or humanities or social sciences or arts. So this is one book which again in fact is very much even aligned with the NEP vision document that the government has released. And then there is also another book which again falls into the same line, but that book talks about the power of humanities and the power of liberal arts. So this book is called The Techie and Fuzzy. So this again talks about as to that it no longer need to be only techies who will be ruling the world, but there are also be non-techies, which he calls it as fuzzies, which again are like brings a different kind of perspective and contrarian perspectives to the tech problems and also the general business problems, actually the societal issues actually. So this is another favorite book of mine. Yeah.
Okay, so one last question. Do you believe in spirituality? If yes, how does it make your life easier?
Okay, I think more than spirituality, I think I'm a very religious person, because I had that parental influence and also that family upbringing here. So I'm deeply religious and also of course spiritual. The fact that you are an Indian, so spirituality is anyway ingrained in any Indian. So the thing as to how it is benefiting me, I would say, is that it gives me a lot of balance. And it gives me a lot of I would say it really deflates the ego, because often at times you will be more guided by your knowledge. I mean, you will be driven that just because you understood something or you have been freshly educated or knowledgeable about something, you feel that you have conquered the world, but that is not the case. In fact, one should be very much rooted and very much grounded. So I would say that spirituality for me is like a place and a time of that day to in fact to be more grounded and less egoistical. So the fact that you are submitting to a larger and metaphysical force, a divine force there, so that I would say is like gives me that balance, and also more importantly makes me more grounded and rooted.
Okay. Yeah. So yes, thank you so much, Chaitanya.
My pleasure.
Like 1 hour of all my doubts and curiosity has been laid here, and you have answered everything, and I wish I will shoot another 2-3 episodes with you coming.
Sure.
With any other subject that we have. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, hope you also have gotten a lot of insights like me from this conversation. So stay tuned for many more conversations with a lot of educationalists, entrepreneurs and famous personalities like this. Like, share, subscribe and comment please. Thank you.